Let's clear up one of the biggest beginner confusions in C#. C# and .NET are not the same. They are different. C# is the language. .NET is the platform that makes the language useful. Look at this line of code on screen. One line, that's it. But think about what's happening behind it. You didn't manually wire up the console. You didn't send bytes to the display. You didn't talk directly to the operating system. .NET handled all of that for you. One line of code, and there's an entire platform doing the heavy lifting underneath. .NET is the runtime, the tools, the libraries, the compiler. It's the entire setup that turns your C# instructions into a working application. It already knows how to deal with files, dates, text, numbers, web requests, databases, security, memory. Every time you write C# code, you're standing on top of all that. That's why C# feels productive so fast. The language itself is clean, but the real power comes from the ecosystem underneath it. And by the way, .NET isn't only for C#. Languages like F# and Visual Basic also run on it. Different languages, same platform, same underlying libraries. Now, there are two words you're going to hear constantly as you learn C#, and you need to understand them early: compile time and runtime. Let me break those down simply. When you write code and hit build or run, the very first thing that happens is your code gets checked. The compiler reads through everything you wrote and looks for mistakes. Wrong spelling, wrong types, missing pieces. If something is broken, it tells you right there. This stage, where your code is being checked and turned into something the computer can eventually run, that's compile time. And compile time is your friend. It catches problems early, before anything actually runs. Easy to fix, no damage done. Now, runtime is different. Runtime is when your program is actually running. It passed all the checks, it compiled fine, and now it's live. And here's the thing that trips people up. Code can compile perfectly and still crash. Your code might try to open a file that doesn't exist. Maybe it calls an API that's down, or a user types something you didn't expect and suddenly you're dividing by 0. The compiler can't predict any of that. It only happens live. Compile time errors are annoying but safe. Runtime errors are the ones that blow up in front of users. Your app crashes mid-demo. A customer sees an error page. An order gets lost. That's why experienced developers put so much effort into testing, logging, and error handling. Not because they enjoy it, but because they've seen what happens when they don't. So, now that you know the difference between compile time and runtime, let's look at what actually happens between writing C# and your program doing something on screen. You write your code. Just text in a file, nothing special yet. Then the compiler takes that code and converts it into something called CIL, Common Intermediate Language. Now this is important. CIL is not the final machine code that your computer runs. It's more like a middle step, a format that .NET can understand no matter what operating system you're using. Then, when you actually run the program, that's when the CLR takes over. CLR stands for Common Language Runtime, and it's basically the engine that powers every .NET application. Inside the CLR, there's a JIT compiler. JIT means just in time. Its job is to take that intermediate code and turn it into real machine code that your specific computer can actually execute. So your C# code becomes intermediate code first, and then the JIT turns it into machine code. 3 stages. And that's one reason many .NET apps can run across Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, depending on the app type and project setup. The intermediate code stays the same. The JIT handles the differences at the end. Okay, so we've been talking about .NET giving you all these tools and libraries, but there's actually an important difference between a library and a framework, and it's worth understanding now because you'll deal with both. A library is something you call. You decide when to use it. You pick a method, pass data, get a result. You're in control. A framework is the opposite. You write code, but the framework decides when to call it. Take ASP.NET Core, for example. You don't manually read raw web requests yourself. The framework receives the request, figures out where to send it, runs some setup, calls your code at the right moment, and sends back a response. So libraries are tools you pick up when you need them. Frameworks are systems you plug into. And when you need something that isn't already built into .NET, you use NuGet. It's the package manager for .NET. If you know JavaScript, think NPM. If you know Python, think pip. If you know Java, think Maven or Gradle. You search for what you need, install it, and start using it. This connects to another idea you'll come across, which is managed versus unmanaged code. Normal C# code is what we call managed code. The CLR handles memory for you. When objects are no longer needed, garbage collection cleans them up automatically. You still think about performance, but you're not manually allocating and freeing memory the way you would in something like C or C++. Unmanaged code runs outside that safety net. More control, but also more responsibility, and a lot more ways to introduce crashes, memory leaks, and security holes. For most of the work you'll do, you stay in managed code. That's one of the big reasons C# is attractive. You get serious power without having to manage every low-level detail yourself. So where do you actually write all this code? Most people on Windows use full Visual Studio. It's a complete IDE with everything built in. You get project templates, a debugger, testing tools, package management, all in one place. If you want something lighter, or you're on Mac or Linux, VS Code with C# Dev Kit and related extensions is a solid option, and a lot of developers use it as their main editor. One thing to know if you're on Mac, Visual Studio for Mac was retired in 2024. So it's either VS Code or JetBrains Writer. But here's what actually matters, the .NET SDK. Once that's installed, you can create, build, and run projects entirely from the terminal. The editor is just comfort on top. And speaking of installing things, let me quickly clear up the version confusion, because the naming history is messy. Even experienced developers get confused by this. So in the early days, Microsoft created something called .NET Framework. It only worked on Windows, and for a long time, that was the only option. Then later, Microsoft built something new called .NET Core. This was a big deal because it worked on Windows, Linux, and Mac. It was faster, lighter, and more modern. Then at some point, Microsoft decided to simplify the name. They dropped the core part and just started calling it .NET, starting at version 5. I know, I didn't name it. Today, .NET 10 is the current LTS release, and C# 14 is the default language version for .NET 10. Older versions like .NET 9 and 8 are still supported, they just come with older versions of the language. You can look up the exact mapping on Microsoft's docs. I'll link it below. If you're starting fresh, go with .NET 10. Don't follow some old tutorial that says, install .NET 6, unless it specifically needs that version. The ecosystem has moved forward. One new thing worth knowing. C# 14 with .NET 10 now supports file-based apps. That means you can run a single .cs file without setting up a full project structure first. Great for experiments, learning, or quick utilities. So what can you actually build with all this? A lot more than most people think when they're starting out. If you want to build backend APIs or web services, you'll be working with ASP.NET Core. That's the main web framework in .NET, and it runs behind a lot of production systems you've probably used without knowing it. If you want web UIs but don't want to write everything in JavaScript, look into Blazor. Blazor lets you build interactive web UI with C# components, instead of writing everything in JavaScript. For mobile and desktop apps, there's .NET MAUI, one shared codebase targeting Android, iOS, macOS, and Windows. And if you're into game development, Unity uses C# as its scripting language. That alone is a massive ecosystem. Then there's the enterprise world. A huge amount of internal business software still runs on WPF and Windows forms. They're old, but they're not going anywhere. There's also .NET Aspire for cloud and distributed systems, but that's more of an advanced topic. Point is, C# goes a lot of directions. It's not locked into one type of application. So let me bring this all together. You write C#. The compiler turns it into intermediate code. The CLR runs it. The JIT makes it native machine code. And .NET gives you the libraries, frameworks, and tooling so you're not rebuilding everything from scratch every time. Once this picture clicks, everything else connects faster. Error messages stop being confusing. You start understanding why a framework does what it does instead of just memorizing it. That's the mental model. Now you're ready to actually write some code.